place a world away from Atlanta and rapid lacrosse growth. The only reason there is lacrosse in Augusta is because of one man, Curt Gary. Curt, who played and ref most of his life, started the men's club team in 1989 with the help of Steve Bowe, Frank Carsucci, and Dave McLaughlin. Curt moved down from North Carolina. He gathered some Northerners from the Fort Gordon, and who had moved down and combined them with some curious new players from the area, and they call it the Aiken Augusta Lacrosse Club. That club team still plays to this day, with Curt at the helm for most of the games, unless he's called upon to ref the games, which is about 90% of the time. He also formed a women's team that his daughter Amanda and Caroline played for, and even my wife played for a couple of years. And it's the only team sport she ever played in her life, and it's because of Curt. Curt was also instrumental in helping form club teams at Georgia Southern and in Columbia, South Carolina. In 2002, Curt helped develop the YMCA Youth League, which has increased to over 100 youth players in the area last spring. The Youth League led to players wanting to play in high school, and it led to the Lakeside High School team, which he developed with Ron Ritter, the men's and women's lacrosse team at Lakeside, and later the Greenbrier High School men's and women's team. But Curt didn't get nominated because he started teams. The reason he was nominated is because of the relationships with his players. Curt has a knack to be able to build relationships with his players by establishing a personal connection. It doesn't matter if it's a boy or girl, man or woman, players are drawn to him and want to play for him. I believe it's because he listens and genuinely cares about each and every player. It doesn't matter how long ago you played for him, but you can drive up before or after practice and talk to Curt, and he'll relate a funny story or a play you made 7 years ago and make you feel wanted. In the 20 years that I've helped play and coach with Curt, no one has ever gone without equipment. I've seen him selflessly give away thousands of dollars in equipment over the years. It always seems that if someone needed a specific piece of equipment, Curt would have it next week, and he would tell them that Longstreth or Queen City had just had a sale or owed him a favor, and he would get the piece of equipment to that person. No player would ever go without equipment. It is that personal touch that has allowed lacrosse to survive in Augusta during some of the lean years and the good times that lacrosse is experiencing now. Without Curt, many young men and women would not have had the thrill to play this great sport. They would have missed out on the camaraderie and the connection that team sports bring. I've been lucky enough to be mentored by him in the coaching world, and he has taught me that the ultimate goal isn't in wins and losses. It's in the relationships that you build with the young men and women you coach. It is my pleasure to introduce my mentor and good friend, Mr. Curt Gary.
Got my cheat sheet here, and Jeff was right. We are your country cousins, 2 hours away. And basically, this is just going to be a thank you list for 22 years of help from all the people at Table 15, and quite a few names I'll mention from Atlanta. The first thing I want to do is thank my dad, because if he hadn't taken me from Darien, Connecticut, which I understand has some pretty fair lacrosse, to the Yale Bowl in 1950 to watch a Yale-Cornell game, I kept tugging at his arm and saying, Dad, what are those guys doing? He said, let's go over to the Cox Cage and watch baseball. Well, we stayed and we watched lacrosse, made the difference in my life. I have 2 wonderful daughters, Amanda and Caroline. They put up with those horrible weekends at Westside High School when we were practicing. Later on, they were smart enough to remind me of something called Title IX, which made a big difference in Augusta. Our first year of competitive lacrosse was 1990. And the people from Atlanta that I want to recognize that helped us get off the ground were Eric and Nancy Rudolph, who were always at our games. Poor Eric was having to do one-man games at those times, the dreaded one-man game. Nancy was there with the clock, a scorebook, mouthpieces if you didn't have them. Later on, Kenny Byers helped us immensely by telling us who to schedule, who wouldn't kick our butt, and who we might have a chance playing against. There's one guy that's been mentioned quite a bit, who's no longer with us, who would jump in his car anytime we needed a referee. That's Ron Maloney, and he was very, very unselfish in that capacity. Later on, the men's club developed into a pretty strong program. Jeff Becker, Ron Ritter, KJ and Bronson Eldridge, whose first cousins are the Powell brothers from somewhere up in New York. Paul Meyer. After the men's club established itself fairly decently, we started a youth program with the Evans, Georgia Y. Jeff, Ron, a gentleman named Dave Basquette. They were instrumental in keeping the youth program lively. Sustaining the youth program were Blake Pierce and Brian Thurber and Steve Bowe. And how they put up with parents who didn't know anything about lacrosse, I don't know, but they did a terrific job because now we have a thriving youth program in Augusta. And now I'm going to deviate just a moment. I know 99% of you have done these things, but it gives me good heart to just mention what goes on during the season when you're in an area that doesn't recognize lacrosse. You cut the grass, you line the fields, you string goals, you play goalie, you jump between the pipes quite a bit. You don't have a cup, you're in big trouble. You repair equipment. In Augusta, we constantly fight the soccer mafia. You consult with parents. You cut your work hours back so you can put more time on the lacrosse field. Unfortunately, you use a lot of your own money. We established a U19 team with the help of an athletic director at Lakeside High School. This was a precursor to our varsities. It was Randy Hill, who knew nothing about lacrosse. He was a wrestler and a wrestler's coach. He said, if you can get 24 guys, and Ron got 24 guys, he said, you're off and running, and we were. The next year, Lakeside High School varsity took the field. Ron fought the old boy coaches network at Lakeside High School with the help of Margaret Mudrak, who is Tom's mother, by the way. So there's a lot of lax blood in that family. Lakeside High School fielded a team. Greenbrier High School saw how exciting lacrosse was by seeing some of their games. Next year, Greenbrier convinced their AD that it would be a great sport. Jeff Becker, Blake Pierce, the Eldridge brothers, two brothers from Binghamton, New York, Drew and Trevor Warner, all were instrumental in getting that program started for the second varsity. That same year, Title IX reared its head, and Randy Hill, who was still the AD at Lakeside, said, girls, you will not be outdone. And we formed a Lakeside High School girls varsity, and I'm sure when Ashley and Veronica heard that umpires were going to have to be sent to Augusta, they probably had minor heart attacks. I recruited a UVA girl, a Wahoo, with playing experience. I worked for Shepherd Blood Center. She was donating blood at the time. She saw my UVA hat, said she wanted to be a coach. She had experience. I said, you're on board. In 4 years, with Courtney's leadership, Lakeside girls went to the state playoffs last year. Unfortunately, we ran into some Episcopalians. We did score 10 goals, but they almost doubled us. But it was the experience of a lifetime for those girls whose 4 years had really come to fruition. The next year, Greenbrier High School followed suit with a varsity girls program. All this time, the girls' programs at both high schools had immense help from Ashley, Veronica, and Jay at Westminster. They answered all our questions, took all our calls, made lots of suggestions, and offered help at any time. Finally, a college club at Augusta State University, founded by Brian Thurber and Blake Pierce, put themselves on the map, started playing as a club sport, and that gave the kids at the high school level something to shoot for after they graduated. That's the point we're at right now. Lacrosse is healthy in Augusta, Georgia. I'm sure it will be. It will stay healthy for a long, long time. Finally, I would like to thank the Atlanta, Georgia chapter of U.S. Lacrosse for inducting me and recognizing your country cousins that are 2 hours away. Thank you.